Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me and David today. As some of you may know about us, we are big Disney theme park history nerds. And we know a lot about how things have been in the parks through the years and how they've changed. A while back, Dave and I kind of had a conversation of what would be the idealized version of various Disney theme parks if we were to combine the best of the past, the present, and some things that have been announced for the near future.
Yeah, and so some of the rules that we adhered to was every we're mainly covering the attractions here. Entertainment, merchandise, food and beverage. I mean, those things, though we know a lot about them, they're not our specialty, as to quote Star Wars there. We're only covering the attractions here. So if an attraction and a shop or a restaurant share the same space, we may cover on that because we may say, hey, we want the attraction here, we want the shop, et cetera, et cetera. I mean,
spoiler alert, we're going to usually go for the attraction.
They can find that out later. So everything we chose had to have occupied that space. This is kind of like a what if scenario. Like, what if Disney had chosen to do this? What if they had decided not to do this? So for example, you couldn't have Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and, the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. You have to choose because they occupy the same space.
If you're at the Magic Kingdom.
Yes, for example, at the Magic Kingdom, yes. Now, obviously, at Disneyland, you could have both.
They actually do have both.
Yeah, they do, and that's wonderful. It can only occupy the same space. Another rule that we decided upon is anything that's broken ground, like Tron's Light Cycle Run, fair game. We can choose that. And we also have the option if something took over a space where there was no attraction, for example, a good chunk of Pandora, we could choose to have the space back.
For example, that we're not saying.
For example, I would. We aren't going to start the Animal Kingdom video today, but I would be very shocked if we came to that conclusion.
You and I are going to have a huge argument about that sometime.
Well, we could. I mean,
but what we're not doing today is we're not talking about concepts that were on the drawing board that never came to fruition. So, for example, we couldn't put Beastly Kingdom in that space that we were just talking about. And we also are not going to armchair imagineer our own ideas. So we're just sort of taking things that have actually existed and sort of trying to create the best combined roster throughout the different years of any given theme park's life.
Exactly. So we're not getting into the complete fantasy realm. We're not saying, hey, this ride that we thought of on the spot. We're not Imagineers. That's not our place, and even though I'm sure we could come up with some cool ideas, that's not what we're aiming for with this video. This video is strictly
Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey in the middle of Fantasyland. As much fun as that might be, for example. Also,
absolutely wonderful attraction, and I'm sure we could make room for it. But that's not the purpose of what we're discussing today. We're discussing simply things that have been, or currently are, or have at least hit the broken ground stage. And we're not delving into everything else just because that's a whole nother video we could do. That's a whole nother experiment we can do. And that's just getting into more of the video. I would hate to say almost becomes more about us if we're creating a fictionalized things. And that's not the point of this video. This video is just to discuss our interpretation of history and what we think would be the best lineup.
It does have some basis in reality, even if some of our scenarios might present operational challenges. So what we're going to do for future videos is we're going to go to an individual theme park. We're going to take you through each land and sort of tell you what we chose for each space to create our idealized attractions roster. And for our first video after this, we are going to start with the most popular theme park in the world, the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World.
Absolutely. And again, as Sean alluded to, we're not going too much into the the business side of things. We're not worrying too much about like what makes the most financial sense, what makes obviously the capacity of the parks. I feel like we're going to leave them in a good place with our rosters, but that isn't the concept for the video. We're only focusing on like what we as park goers would most want as an attractions roster at a park we're visiting. So those of you. If anybody comments and says, hey, that doesn't make any financial sense, why would you get rid of Mr. Toad, for example, and put in Winnie the remove Winnie the Pooh and put in Mr. Toad, for example, Winnie the Pooh makes far more money. That's not our thought process. We're not thinking about it in that way.
If you and I were at a theme park, we're trying to create the theme park that would be the most fun for us to visit.
Exactly.
Based on things that have actually existed. So we're hoping if you're a theme park fan, and particularly a fan of the history, you'll kind of enjoy this silly little nerdy walk around the parks and what our versions of those parks are. And feel free, if you are watching this, if you want to put in the comments what yours might look like as well. Hopefully playing by the same rules. Of course, we can have other discussions involving other things too. But anyway, we hope we're going to have some fun with this. I'm really looking forward to it, and we hope you guys will enjoy watching it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.